in 2009 in Buenos Aires and continued 2010 in Sao Paulo and this year in Mexico. We had also a plan to do an Arabic summer school. It was done together with people from the National Telecommunication Authority under Tarek Kamel's ministry, and it was a successful one. It helped prepared the Sharm el-Sheikh IGF. It was before the Sharm el-Sheikh IGF was a very successful one, but then we could not continue because of lack of sponsorship. And we are now in the discussion probably to move forward towards an African summer school. And also here the key issue is certainly funding. We had just in the lunch break a meeting with NEPAD, with Afrinic, and with SIDA, the Swedish Development Agency, and we raised this also in discussion with the European Commission, whether we could create a funding scheme to help African summer school. Let me explain a little bit the concept behind this mechanism. We have developed a basic course. It's 40-hour master level. I said it already, it's on 3 layers. We have more or less a theoretical layer where we teach key let's say, transdisciplinary issues, history, politics, theory, law, technology, and some other key issues, which are mainly delivered by academic professors, well-recognized academics. Then we have a so-called policy layer, where, let's say, policymakers from various stakeholder groups present their experiences. So these are more the practical people, members of the Governmental Advisory Committee, or members from GNSO Council or CNSO Council, who present their practical experiences, that you get the various views from the stakeholders, private sector, civil society, technical community, and the governments. And the third layer is the more or less technical layer, where students get specific knowledge about CCTLD management, TTLD management, IP address management, root server, internet protocols, and things like that. So this all together, brings knowledge which is rather distributed in the world together. So we have called this networking of knowledge, so because the person with a specific technical knowledge can get more policy knowledge, and a person with specific policy knowledge can get more technical knowledge, and with all these dimensions. So this is rather successful, so that means we have always good responses, and we use also from the concept here that that's why there's a 50 hours academic course and 5 days and nights, because next to the academic program of 40 hours, we have also 10 hours for students' intercommunication. So each evening is full of presentations from students, because we have very experienced students, and we make use of the knowledge the fellows bring to the summer school, so that we have very nice night sessions with presentations from China or Russia or the Fiji Island or Nepal, where the fellows are coming from. And this is very exciting, because nobody has all the knowledge, and to learn from each other also among the fellows is very helpful also for networking, and this continues. And we have more or less 2 slogans. One is learning in a multi-stakeholder environment, and the other one is teaching the Internet governance leaders of tomorrow. Learning in a multi-stakeholder environment means that we have both in the faculty and in the fellow groups, people from various stakeholder groups. So that means when we select the students, we want to have, some people with governmental experience, some people with private sector experiences, some people with civil society engagement, and some technical people. So that you have a right mix also of knowledge among the fellows. And I explained already how the faculty is constituted. So this learning in a multi-stakeholder environment really enables then fellows, to come to these meetings and to understand much quicker what's going on, and then to have an input. And this qualifies them to take leadership positions in all these bodies. So in the last ICANN meeting in Singapore, I was really not really surprised, but I took note with certain satisfaction that in the Governmental Advisory Committee, there were 7 people who went through the Meissen process. The city, the town where we do it is called Meissen, and it was 2 faculty members and 5 former fellows are sitting now in the Governmental Advisory Committee for ICANN. And if you go to the GNSO Council or ZNSO Council or to ALAC, so that means people with this knowledge are well qualified then to serve in these positions. And I'm also happy to see here in this IGF in Kenya that around 20 or 25 former fellows and faculty members are here. So that means it was a successful program, and we hope that we will continue. And so I stop here because Sandra will probably then present some more slides, and Olga will speak more in detail about the South School, because one of the other concepts is that it's a decentralized system, so that it's not a centralized body. So each regional summer school has its own responsibility. We communicate to each other, we learn from each other, but it's as open source or free software. That means we have the model, and then the model is adjusted according to the local needs. That means while IP address management is done by RIPE NCC in Europe, IP address management in Latin America is done by LACNIC, and CCTLD management in Europe is done by European CCTLD registry, while it's done then by a Latin American registry. So this makes the beauty of the system. That means you have the global knowledge and you can link it to the local needs. And with this, I can only, my final word is that I encourage private sector members in the room to recognize this as a good initiative and to help to make this more sustainable by either continuing funding or by considering, to help with further funding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Many thanks. Aubrey, want to say something?
Sure. Okay, my name is...
Oh.
Cool. My name is Aubrey Doria. I'm been one of the faculty there. I always feel a little uneasy saying faculty, since some of the students are as expert or more expert in some of the things we teach, granted that we tend to have a broader set of experience. I guess I'm one of those that's both an academic and a practitioner, having been both a years of being a development engineer, a protocol designer, and then active in Internet governance itself. So I come from two different perspectives to it. I think at the moment, other than Wolfgang, I'm the only one that's been to every one of these schools so far. I don't know if that record will continue, but I'm working on it. And partly because I enjoy them. As I said, everybody there knows something much better than I know it. And so I really do enjoy being there and listening to what the students have to say, listening to their interpretations of what I have to say, and find it really a rich experience. I find those weeks to be, yes, work, but also very much a refreshing pause. What I tend to teach there is, or talk about, is protocol, standards, standardization, and sometimes I also talk a bit about human rights, sometimes not. Although at the moment I've gotten just things I've learned in the last year. I've actually found a interesting connection between the way the standardization process has been set up and human rights itself. So actually the next time I rework my presentations or my classes, I'll try to find a way to actually include sort of the relationship between the standards process and the human rights process and see how that goes. It'll be an experiment, so anybody that comes next time will, get to watch me flounder around with something that is somewhat experimental in terms of how the internet process and how it's been created of standards is actually something that feeds into and is very similar to human rights process. I don't know if there's anything else I should go on about.
your experience, and how do you feel the difference in between the two ones in Latin America and Europe?
Okay, well, first, I have no language barrier in the one in Europe. So, and I keep promising to learn Spanish before I go back to Europe again back to the Latin American one, but then again, I never do. So I'm not a really good student of language. I think, well, certainly the one in Europe is different environmentally. In Europe, we are in I forget what it's called in German, but it's
monastery
it's a monastery?
Yes.
I didn't think it was a monastery. I thought it was more a seminary. But anyway, because it's an educational college, there's no monks running around. Oh, there were monks running in the old days. In fact, yeah, some of those cute little things you see under the glass floors. Really neat. You look under a glass floor and you see bits of old monastery. So it's a really lovely place. It's a small town, Meissen. It's got a great, bunch of porcelain, great porcelain, and they go every year, and yeah. And but basically, it's not that we're cloistered. We can obviously leave and go walk around the town anytime. But in a sense, we are cloistered, and it's very intense, sort of everybody meeting at night, talking about Internet governance and Internet governance problems, and really, getting involved in it. It's really great how they have this all set with the generators and some stuff that's on battery. It's wonderful. I'm really, really impressed by how well they've got that balanced. See, the generator, it's great. I love the way they have that connected. Whereas the South American one for me is, first of all, it's me more in a different place. Until I went with this school, I hadn't been to South America very often at all. There's a lot of people speaking Spanish. So while in the classroom, I'm fine. And I could sort of understand some of the Spanish as it goes by, but I can never really answer. Though I'm getting braver at just answering them in English when I think I know what they're talking about. But I guess also, I don't know if the student mix is slightly different in terms of balance between professional and student. I think it might be. But I've never done the statistics on it, so I don't really know that in the European, we get a few more people that are involved in doctoral studies and mixed in with the professionals. And I think the Spanish summer school is more seasoned professionals in their own area and fewer of the PhD students. But I find both, obviously, I keep going back to both of them, and it isn't just for the money. And because I think both of them are really quite worth doing. The perspectives of the students are obviously different coming from one environment or the other, and I find them both worth it. Looking forward to the African one, too.
Thank you so much. Sandra, would you like to show more things about the European, and then we go to the Latin American one?
Thank you, Olga. I just want to give the audience some more facts and figures and background behind how the program is structured, about the numbers and everything. It was mentioned already that it's a very intensive week, both in European and in the South American summer school, but still we are also trying to get the people together in a socialized way. So that's why we start in the first evening with a dinner, with a self-introduction. It's the time when they arrive, and so that they can go on with each other from the very first beginning and have a nice week then. And the next morning we start with, generally in the morning we start with joint lectures, which are always followed by question and answer sessions, so that the interaction keeps on going all day long. In the afternoon, the workshop work is very proved. I mean, the students enjoy sitting in the sun, sitting somewhere outside, having a discussion with the lecturer, asking them. There is no presentation, there are no computers allowed, at least in Meissen. I don't know how you handle this, Olga, but it was actually a very good thing that we. Afri, you're shaking your head. No computers allowed in the afternoon during the workshop in Meissen. So this is going to be a more intense discussion. And in the evening we try to offer some social event like the Meissen porcelain manufactory, or we went for dinner or do a boat trip or whatever. On the last day we hand over some certificates which became, which are valued by the people themselves. I mean, at least they are very happy and they keep it in their portfolio. Well, I think I can speak for both summer schools about the numbers of applications and about the numbers of participants. From the very first beginning we were really surprised. Even if it was a pilot project, we had around 120 applications from all over the world, and actually we are now in the 6th year and it's still the same way. And it's very difficult to decide for 25 to 30 students among these, because all of the applications, or at least 90% of the applications, are very, very valuable. So our criteria are geographical, gender and professional balance. I know that the South Summer School is more focused on the South American region. The European one says, okay, we want to mirror the whole globe, and so we invite always students from Africa, from Brazil, and from Asia and Europe, of course. And there is also a possibility to apply for the Global Fellowship Program. This is also sponsored by the internet industry, and but it's restricted to people from developing countries only. We do it the way that we make a pre-selection according to the need of the sponsor who wants to hand over a certain fellowship, and then we send a shortlist to the sponsor for them to make the final choice. The other way around, they can also send us somebody and say, I have somebody here in my country, I want to develop, I want to get them more into the internet governance thing, and then they can just send them and pay for their flights maybe, and also for the cost. I just want to give you an idea about the statistics. This is a statistic from 2010, but it's more or less every year the same. We have applications from all over the world. From the European, of course, we have a lot of students from Europe. We have not so many students from North America, and well, South America, not because there is a South Summer School going on. And out of these applications, we have then to decide according to our criteria, repeat gender, geographical, and professional or group balance. Then we have to decide on this group, and it's always very disappointing for some students if they applied already 3 or 4 times, some of them, and are still not selected. And it's not up to their qualification. It's simply the case that there are some of them, and we always have to decide, and well, that's difficult. We created also a sort of a community platform for all of them to meet, but I must be honest, Facebook is more successful. Anyway, the site still exists. Everybody is invited to have a look at the site. But I think if you have a site like this, Diplo Foundation is doing this very well, then you have to have somebody behind this who is taking care, blogging and stuff like that. I'm not doing this, so this is not working out very well. Olga, I think we should the film now, or both? Okay, then I think I spoke enough for the summer school, and I just let the students to speak, because actually what we are unlucky because of the conflicting sessions, but what they say is actually the most valuation of the work we are doing, because we can tell you much more about this.
I am from Indonesia,
Paraguay,
Malawi, Brazil,
Oslo, Fiji, Berlin, Passau, Africa.
This idea of the summer school comes out from the United Nations Working Group on Internet Governance, which was established in the year 2004 by the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, when the United Nations World Summit on the Information Society struggled about Internet governance, this group had the mandate to define what Internet governance is for the world. And we realized, at least the academic members of the working group on Internet governance realized, that this is a new issue which you cannot study at traditional university, neither at Harvard or Oxford University or in Singapore or Shanghai or in Berlin. You can study Internet governance. You have to go to a law faculty, business faculty, or to a social science faculty or informatics faculty to get pieces of Internet governance. But the Internet is rather a global thing which covers all the disciplines. And so our conclusion was we have to create such a place where people from different backgrounds and different experiences from different disciplines can come together and can study what Internet governance is to get a better understanding. Then we have one world and one Internet.
So I thought it was a good idea to come here to see and experience the summer school, and then to begin to think about how we can take the learning from here back to Africa, but also begin to establish similar structures for the continent.
I came to this summer school because they really recommended, and so far has been really great. There are people from all over the world. The speakers are very, very good. They have a very high profile, and we are having fun here. We are sharing information, and it's very intercultural, and I would strongly recommend everybody to participate in this summer school.
We are talking about new domain name extensions called generic top-level domain names, which will become available next year for cities and regions like .Paris or .Bavaria or .California or .Tokyo. And this is a great development within the internet namespace. And I'm teaching here students and give them an idea what they can do with such top-level domain names, which impact this has to their local communities, and how, let's say, governments might deal with it.
I encourage you to join this summer course because this is important to acknowledge you, to enable you to understand other side of Internet governance.
I think one of the particularly nice aspects of this summer school is that many of the faculty members are staying here during all the week, and they are available for discussions not only after their own classes but also during lunch breaks and other occasions. So this is really a great chance to get to know people and to talk to them and to get first-hand information from people who are really knowledgeable about this.
It's very unusual in the world to find a course that focuses not just on the core issues of Internet governance, but on the business concerns and the concerns of the multi-stakeholder community. But even more important than the academics have been the social relations. I've never met somebody from Fiji before, or listened to someone from Tunisia talk about Internet in her country. It's a tremendous experience that I encourage everyone to try.
We come to this summer school and to the IGF and ICANN with a firm belief in the multi-stakeholder approach to Internet governance issues. And the summer school just reinforces that because we have a range of stakeholder groups represented in the students, in the faculty, and this again brings the point home that these issues need to have multi-stakeholder interaction.
This is the best place in the world to get an introduction to Internet governance. You have some of the world's leading scholars and practitioners coming together to in a very relaxed and free atmosphere to exchange ideas and talk about these things.
For me as a technical person, it was the first time to engage with Internet politics and with Internet governance and policy making. I thought that perhaps on the Internet there are shorter debates and progress could be achieved more easily, but as I saw it, that like in our nation state politics, all the processes are replicating again, and we still have the old lengthy discussions about very small details which could be easily achieved in the technical world.
It was a really nice experience from my side, for me as well, to meet all the students and seeing the interested young people from different backgrounds, different countries.
You can't put a monetary worth in terms of how valuable the school's actually been, and it's just been absolutely incredible. And I strongly recommend for whoever's interested in internet governance to
Cool, I was really impressed to have so many people from so many countries, so many parts of the world, and with different backgrounds. We have lawyers, we have engineers, I'm a journalist.
I encourage anyone who's interested in the subject and wants to get a broader perspective of what's going on and the latest developments to participate.
From my perspective, I think the possibilities of this event is very high, since we can bring together different opinions and opportunities to all the people joining this summer school.
It was a further step in the development of my internet government competence. You meet at other international conferences as well, but here it's a very special and intensive atmosphere to work and to study with people.
I think it's really a good platform for sharing ideas between experts and between people who are somehow involved to internet governance, ICT regulations, I mean students.
I believe that it will be a good opportunity to have a summer school in Africa.
It's been a very interesting experience.
It's really good to be here. Thank you.
We teach the internet governance leaders of tomorrow.
This has been an incredibly useful experience from a business perspective.
That was kind of an eye-opener.
I'm very impressed and I'm very much looking forward for the last days of this wonderful event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We are so happy, and it's my pleasure to provide this platform for interactive discussion for so many people around the globe, from Fijians to Brazil, from Norway to South Africa, and we hope we will continue the way we did for the next 5 years at least. Olga, I think now it's your turn.
Thank you. Very nice. Nice memories from Germany. Could I show my presentation? Sure. Pedro. You have to go. Go ahead, Pedro. I'm sorry, we're collapsing with the session. I didn't plan this.
No worries.
Please.
Hello, everybody. I would like to share a little bit my experience being one of the scholars at the South Internet Governance, South School of Internet Governance, and I have the chance to participate 3 times. One as observer, then as a faculty in a presence mode, and the third one as a faculty in a remote mode. And the 3 of them were super successful. And the other thing that I appreciate the most is that I would love to have the South School when I have to start to dig into this internet governance arena. I bet that many of you had to learn about this in the hard way, which is go into the meetings, learn the process. The first meeting usually is very, very complicated. You don't know many people. You don't know the process. You know that there's a lot of sessions going on. You don't know where to pay attention, and also you don't dominate the language. So I found the School of Internet Governance a great resource, and I would love to have that when I have to start to deal with internet governance issues. It's a great way to understand this. It saves you a lot of time, and you are ready. You save a lot of time, and you are ready to get into the issues. It's incredible how much time one spends in trying to understand the process and trying to understand the different narratives. So it takes me at least two years to participation at the IGF to really feel a little bit comfortable on the process, and this is a resource super helpful. From a private sector standpoint, why Google is supporting the school, I think that is the best way to open the dialogue. There is no way to have a good dialogue if it's not well informed, and that the key stakeholders participating there have the right tools to understand what's going on. It's not just sit in a meeting room and listen. You need some background here, and it's difficult to get that background. And we find out that this is an incredible resource to get that. In addition, as a faculty, our idea is also to present to the students the standpoint of the private sector and basically be in our shoes. What do we want to achieve when we are talking about internet governance? Which are our positions? How we deal with the different stakeholders? Which are the subjects that we care the most? How how is our interaction with the different sectors? So this is usually the approach that we gave to our participation at the school. And then, well, in my particular case, I have particular knowledge on certain areas that I share with the students. Areas such privacy, such copyright, intermediary liability, content regulation, and and the idea is to provide an overview of the issues in the different regions. In my particular case, my expertise is in Latin America, so I present to the students the different trends, the different issues that we're facing, the challenges, and one of the most rewarding things that of being a scholar, a faculty at the school, is the feedback that I get from the students. I got really sharp questions that really makes me rethink what I'm saying, and it's a real challenge. It's a way to keep you fresh. It's a way to just not get don't get accustomed to your daily arguments. It's something that really challenge you, and having fresh people that maybe analyze the internet governance issues from a totally fresh and standpoint also helps you to think this issue from a different angle. So I think that this is a win-win situation for not only for the student but also for the faculty. We also identify great people at the faculty that then will be interesting to even hire, meet, connect, work together. So it's also for us a very, very interesting venue.
Thank you very much, Pedro, and thank you very much to Google and to VeriSign, who are one of our donors or sponsors, I don't know, sponsors of our program. And I think the word students for the students, I think it's not correct, because they are really professionals. And I know what you mean. For me, it's a challenge every year, because they really are experiencing their fields. Not necessarily they're younger than us. Some of them are people from our ages, and that, so it's really, for me, and I understand that it's for all of you as teachers, very enriching. I know you want to go to the main session, Bill, and perhaps Ricardo. So maybe you want to speak, and then I do my presentation. You want to go that way? Ricardo, no problem. Bill, you want to go ahead?
Sorry. Hi, I'm Bill Drake from University of Zurich, and I was asked to say something in the main session, and they got all held up by power outages and things like that. But I wanted to get up here before you guys cut it short and at least show up, because I do this every year, and always happy to put in a word for the Summer School in Internet Governance, which I think is a great initiative, which I've been a part of since the beginning, since the first year in Meissen. I guess I've done 5 years in Meissen and 2 years in Latin America. Well, 3 actually, because the third time I unfortunately had to do it remotely due to illness. But in any event, so I've been involved as a core faculty member from the beginning. And I guess I would say that aside from simply singing the praise of the program, which I think is, it's obvious that everybody involved is very enthusiastic about it, maybe I would just highlight a couple of other aspects real quick. One is, I think, the point that was just made by Olga about people being professionals. It's really true. This is not like an undergraduate level kind of teaching experience where we're taking complete newbies and saying, hello, there's this thing called the internet, and then walking them through. I teach those kind of courses at the university, and I know the difference between teaching an undergraduate university course and indeed even teaching a graduate. I teach a graduate course now on global internet governance in Zurich. And but my students are first-year students, mostly master's students. They're nowhere near being in the position of the people that we bring into the program, simply because the people we bring into the program are often, if they're academics, they're writing their doctorates on the topic. If they're from NGOs, they're part of NGOs that have been working at the forefront of human rights and privacy and freedom of speech and things like that around internet issues. If they're business people, they're mid-level managers and sometimes higher. Government people, often the same kind of thing, etc. And indeed, many of our students have ended up in the internet governance community in positions of authority. I mean, yesterday I had a meeting with Commissioner Kroes from the European Commission, and her assistant was a former student of ours. And many of our former students are representing their governments in the Government Advisory Committee in ICANN, or you see them in the IGF doing other things. They're in senior positions now and so on. So it's really not a sort of beginner's thing so much as it is a synthesis and a lifting the boats at a sort of common level for people who perhaps in their professional careers have had time to focus on this aspect of IG, but not that aspect. And we're essentially creating a framework that allows them to synthesize and integrate what they know already, what they work on, with a broader framework that allows them to make better sense of developments in areas that are related. So you get people who are privacy experts learning about intellectual property or learning about interconnection rates, etc., and seeing how all of that fits in within the broad rubric. What I always do in the course is to do a sort of sort of first an analytical thing about the nature of internet governance and how the kind of concept of it has been institutionalized in the international community, which is something that I was involved in as a member of the working group in internet governance and throughout the WSIS, et cetera. And then a sort of topographical overview of the distributed architecture of global internet governance, looking at how all the different institutional arrangements for internet use and information and internet infrastructure are kind of mapped against each other from a holistic perspective, and emphasizing the kind of taking of a holistic approach to this kind of thing. And that's always a bit challenging, I think, for students, but I think that at the end of the day, by the end of the week, they do have that kind of holistic view of how the parts fit together. And I think that that's really, really important. And it's particularly important because people come from such different backgrounds. The academics may be interested in theoretical kinds of questions that they're working on. The people who are coming from business and government have more, quote, practical kind of concerns, but then find that the analytical framework helps them to view those things in a new light, in a more productive way and manner, and so on. So I think that really there is a very unique kind of capacity building going on here that's not just learning some more details in a very narrowly bounded way. It's more a paradigm kind of learning. It's more of a kind of a vision, a whole kind of overarching framework. And I think that that's something that people at all levels in their professional careers can always use, including me. So I stop there, and I thank you, Olga, for once again organizing this workshop, which I think is always useful.
It's a pleasure having you all in this program. And by the way, I have Jorge there. He has been a faculty member, a specialist in accessibility and disability. So after I make a presentation, I'll give the floor to Ricardo, and perhaps, Jorge, you can say something about your experience as teacher. I would like to show a very short presentation, but I would like to stress the differences between the Latin American program and the European program. Would you go for the first one? Why we thought this was interesting for Latin America. Latin America is the region with less representation in those internet governance debate space, ICANN, IGF, IETF, and all that. So it's not only teaching, it's raising awareness, bringing people to a process that they don't have in mind and they don't belong. So it's a little bit more, perhaps, the objective, it's a little more broader or deeper than what was the initial idea in Europe. And it's different also because we rotate among countries. We don't do it in the same country. Why? It's difficult to move around Latin America. It's extremely expensive. It's not the same like Europe. You take a train, you go faster to everywhere, and it's nice, and the trains are easy going and clean and sharp in time. Latin America, it's different. It's very nice, very diverse, very challenging. So we do it in a different city every year. We started Buenos Aires, then Sao Paulo, then Mexico this year, and it will be in Bogota, Colombia in 2012. In every city, we try to find a local partner, a university or a ministry or an NGO that is eager to help us with logistics, understanding the local issues, because me and Adrian, who are the ones that organize this, live in Buenos Aires, and we have many friends all over the region, but we don't know all the details about logistics. Can we? This is some statistics from the Argentina one in 2009. We had students, 26 students from 150 applications. The difference also between the one in Europe, in Latin America, we pay the fellowship for all the students, so students don't have to pay. We select them. They only have to pay their ticket and their taxes and their insurance, medical insurance. We pay the teaching, we pay the accommodation and the meals of the whole week. Why? Because if not, they would not come. It's a different region. It's people who is not involved, so we have to motivate it. Perhaps in the future we can think about some could pay fees, but for the moment we haven't done that way. So this is thanks to all the companies and organizations that help us with also these funds for the students. So we had students, 6 from Argentina and the rest from Brazil, Mexico, Uruguay, Bolivia, Ecuador, Chile, Paraguay, Peru, and also from Spain. and Colombia. And from Argentina, 3 were from Buenos Aires and 3 from the interior of Argentina. So also they had to fly to Buenos Aires. And at that time, we had 30 faculty members from Europe, United States, and Latin America and the Caribbean. Can we pass the we have some pictures here. That's Wolfgang. The first one was organized in one of the universities where I teach. It's an engineering school. They were so kind to give us the space, the internet access, the coffee breaks, and we stayed in a hotel nearby. And it was a little bit shorter, the program, because it was a whole experiment, but it went very well. Some socializing in the coffee, and then we also do a gala dinner, and yeah, please, go ahead. That's the certificates. Some things are very similar to the one in Germany. And then we organized it in Sao Paulo. The countries participating were similar, but fellows were more. There we realized that there was also an advantage of having more students from each country. At that time we had 16 from Brazil, and the 20 others were from the rest of the region, including one student from Spain and 1 student from Austria. That those were sponsored by .cat and by the CCTLD from Austria. We had more faculty members, 35, also from all over the world. You have some pictures here. The venue, we have a nicer venue, as you can see, in a hotel, big hotel in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is a very big city. For those who don't know it, it's a complicated city to move around. So Latin America in general is like that. They are big cities with difficult traffic to move around, like Nairobi. So it's easier to be in the same place. So at that time, we were so lucky to be in the same hotel with that nice venue. At that moment, we had some help from the CGIBR, the Comité Gestor da Internet. And then we went to Mexico this year. Our local sponsor was the Chamber of ISPs, MIPSI. ¿Quién más, Adri? Canietti, ¿cómo es el nombre de la cámara? The Chamber, sí, pero es la cámara de que... Chamber of Electronics and Electronics Chamber, Canietti, and also from the government of Mexico, Secretaría de Economía. And we have a different mix of participants. We had 40 fellows, 20 from Mexico, and the other 20 were from, you see, there were people from Guatemala, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, some countries in the Central America area. We had a different mix. We had people from Paraguay, Colombia, Uruguay, Mexico. One thing that we do is, it's mainly the program, it's in Spanish, but we have simultaneous translation. I know it's very expensive, but why? Latin Americans, in general, they say they speak English, but when they hear a lecture, they cannot follow. That's very common. So it's easier to have simultaneous translation. Also for international faculty members, that gives them the opportunity to hear the presentations by the local faculty. We have some pictures from Mexico, went very well. And also we had a nice venue in a hotel in Mexico. Mexico, it's also, you know, the biggest city in the world. So it's complicated to move around. So we were lucky to have a nice place in the nice area of Mexico. That's the group picture. We are all together there. Very happy, and I don't know if I have something more. I have now the next one is Colombia. The organization interested in being our host is the Ministry of ICTs from Colombia, and we already visited Bogota, and we visited some possible venues. So we are organizing it in the second week of March, the week after the meeting in Costa Rica in ICANN. So I'll stop there. I would like to, Ricardo gives and Jorge gives some impressions about their experience of being faculty members. One comment that Avery said, and also Wolfgang, many students in Europe do PhD even without working. That's very, I've seen that they keep on studying and making it, in general they're academics. That in Latin America is very rare. That it's not very common. In Latin America, it's all people who goes to the university also work. And because it's no way that you can support your studies unless you're very, very rich. So it's students and participants are not so many from PhD programs, but more from people who work in the industry we have several people from regulator offices or work for the government as well, young professionals or professionals not necessarily young. I'll stop there, and Ricardo, if you are so kind to give us your impression.
Thank you, Olga. There's a lot of things to say, but I think more of the speakers have covered the most part of the different issues. So I want just to concentrate on a few ones. I work for Meissen. It's a private company, but before joining this company, I used to work for a university for 11 years. So I learned that what's really clear from the higher education perspective, that the best way to teach is by doing. It's now generally accepted everywhere. And Olga plays an excellent, usually plays an excellent program in terms of content diversity. But also, and I found it's really interesting, is she challenged the students to do some homework during the same week they are receiving, like say, discussion or lectures. They have to prepare kind of presentation and sharing. So that's a way of by doing. They're hearing, but they are building their vision, as William Will Drake mentioned. They're building their vision on how Internet governance is. It's a personal view, but has some solid background as they heard the different people from different perspectives. So I think it's something that it has a special value. Something that has also been said is about the young profile, and I have discussed it's young, it's not young. Nobody wants to offend people from the students from other region. I still feel young, but I can just say that I was younger a couple of years ago, and the profile, in fact, when we talk young, I think it's a technology mindset. They're mostly people that were born and were really used to the Facebook, and it was in fact said that it's the best way of sharing their knowledge through these social networks. So it's interesting, and it puts a lot of pressure on the speakers' mentality also of sharing things. What I like it also from the students a lot is their energy. I'm coupling this with their profile, as I'm sure the Latin Americans and Africans who have a common profile is that they're really young, they have a lot of energy, and they're eager to learn. And they can go from really early in the morning until very late, and there's a huge demand on them during that week, but they really don't mind. They are really happy of doing that. So it's something that encourages the faculty and staff members that we enjoy. I think we heard at the beginning how Ari was happy of doing that, and I feel it's the same sentiment of all of us. I will say finally that as a faculty member, I feel like most of them have said, really challenged to be updated always when I come to these meetings. And the way of doing it to get updated as well, to listen. I will say the first thing is to listen to them because they're the ones who challenge you more. To listen to my other faculty member fellows, it's really helped me also to learn something new each time. To participate in these kinds of events. I had the chance, for example, this year of attending a Pacific Island IGF, the first Pacific Island IGF. So again, a completely different culture, languages, challenges from the internet governance perspective. I was also attended the Asia Pacific IGF, another stream in when you try to think about their needs, and this is my third IGF, global IGF. I attend some the ICA meetings, some ITU meetings, and so that helped me also get more experiences and share it again with my students. So teaching again and sharing again, it's a huge process of teaching and learning that goes through the students and back to the faculty members. It's really great experience. And finally, I will say that, yes, it was mentioned by my friend Pedro from Google, that from the private sector, it's something that we really care about. We at VeriSign, we sponsor several organizations that had a similar focus on building experiences for different multi-stakeholders to get involved, to help them to participate more and more. We are convinced that this model, because it's a young model, needs more and more people with different perspectives, from different countries, with different backgrounds.
That's not the idea, so they bring one fellow from Catalonia, and there was that time that came from Austria, one student, supported by .at. But the idea of our program is for the Latin American region, but as I told you, it has simultaneous translation, so if you're bilingual or if you only speak English, you can also manage, and you're welcome. It's not restricted to, but it's in general, it's oriented to.
Yeah, for Europe, I can just say we had more participation from North American in the past, but it's going down for some strange reason. We don't know why. However, I just want to, I just want to announce the 2 dates for the upcoming summer schools, the 4th South American and the 6th Euro SSIG. And whoever is interested, Olga mentioned the website, but I have also for the European summer school some flyers if you want, and you can have more information, which is quite general for both of the schools.
Thank you all of you for being here with us, and see you here or virtually, and I hope some of you can come to the school. Thank you.